Hello and welcome back for another historic gameplay video. Today we're going to be revisiting this Juggle the Performance deck. We've made a few modifications since the last version, and I'm hoping they're going to be a significant improvement. Most notably, we've added 4 copies of Waste Not. At 2 mana, this can come down the turn before Juggle, and then create tremendous value when our opponent discards their hand. Most of the time, I feel what we're really looking for is that our opponent has a good number of lands in hand, and we can generate some mana, so that after we draw our cards, we can start casting some of the spells from their deck and really get ahead on board. Although, we also don't mind creating zombie tokens to start pressuring our opponent. Another change we've made was a couple copies of Wish. Since it's unlikely that our opponent has a sideboard, this should be a one-sided card. Although, since the card must be utilized in the same turn, most likely we'll only be able to target some of our cheaper cards with this. But in the mid to late game, there's always the potential that we can get something more juicy. The rest of the deck remains largely unchanged. We dropped the Pact of Negations and a couple copies of Leyline of Combustion. Outside of that, we still have the remainder of the ley lines, which we can put on the battlefield from our opening hand. Leyline of the Void should be good against a lot of decks in the meta. Similarly, we don't mind a Leyline of Anticipation, letting us juggle during our opponent's draw phase. And Leyline of Sanctity can be strong against certain decks in the meta as well, protecting our hand from discard or life total from burn spells. We're also running an increased sideboard. Still has the same cards from last time, but we filled it out with some additional value. Lots of different goodies in here for a variety of different situations. Last time we played the deck, it was a tremendous amount of fun. And it was very exciting to see what we were going to draw from our opponent and try and figure out how we can win the game. And I'm really excited today to see how Waste Not improves our combo turns. I think it could produce some very strong outputs and might even cause our opponent to concede in certain situations, as it can really catapult us ahead. Before we jump into the gameplay, I'd like to ask you to please like and subscribe the video. It really helps the channel. And without further ado, let's jump into the games. This hand is keepable. I think out of all the Leyline of the Void is the one we would prefer to have in hand in most matches. We'll start on a tapped land. Up against Affinity. Play out the Cliffs and pass. Tenebrous. It's going to be quite strong, since they're going to be able to continue to generate Thopters, even with a new hand. Might as well play out the Amber here. Don't think any of these deal with the Thopterists. Thieving Magpie, can't block it. And the Waste Not means follow-up juggles aren't going to be any good. So our opponent had the right half of their combo here. The opponent got in underneath of us. I guess maybe a Karn the Great Creator would be our one-shot out. This is legendary, so we actually can play this. Play out the Guide of Souls. Next turn we can start gaining some life. Do they have one of our juggles? Karn will shut off the Mox Amber, or they could just destroy it.
We must act now. We must prepare for war.
Then our opponent hits for 2 in the air. Another Waste Not, and we actually really needed that mana. Gain some life. And then we'll see if they want to trade any of their cards. We don't actually care about Karn. They do trade a Thopter. We love that. So it looks like they were reconsidering there for a second. Now they have a Guide of Souls of their own. Do they have a sideboard? Maybe they're running Karn. They're just going to bring it back because of Leyline of the Void. Karn can grab any card from exile as well as from the sideboard. It explains the chump block last turn. And they have a Juggle as well. Path to Exile. We'll use that right away on the Thopterist. Now we have the Thopterist of theirs. Do they have any artifacts here? Doesn't look like it. Okay. So we'll start on a land. Not really going to be useful for us. It's just seeing what we want to start with here. I think we definitely want to get the Thopterus down. So maybe start with that. Play out a Delaney. Should have played these in the opposite order. And that's enough for a concession here. Managed to come back after our opponent used one of our juggles, and it looks like we got a better hit than they did. Good game. This hand needs one more mana. I think we can keep it. With the Leyline of Anticipation, we can always use Scheming Symmetry during our opponent's end step and try and go get our land if we don't draw it naturally next turn. Opponent is on a mill deck, so this one we'll probably struggle with since they don't really care what we're doing, and I don't think we have any cards to shuffle. Discarding our hand and drawing 7 cards also doesn't help. We don't have a Leyline of Sanctity, which is what we really want in this matchup. Let's see which land we want. I don't think it really matters. We'll grab a Cliffs. And then Juggle. Well, maybe with the technique, but we don't have a creature to go with it. And our opponent just concedes here. Definitely premature. On to the next. This hand, I don't think is going to cut it. Leylines by themselves are not good enough. Couple waste knots. Take another mulligan. And this one we can keep. Put back some of the redundant Leylines. Need to draw into another land for Juggle. And it looks like our opponent is locked out due to our Leylines. On to the next. This hand probably won't do. Do love the Leylines, but we're here to juggle. Take another mulligan, and this one's better. We'll put back the Karn, and then I think Leyline of Anticipation. That way we have all the mana we need to cast Juggle on 3. Elegant Parlor, some Boros colors. Usually not in aggro decks, so could be something like Jeskai Control. Although, again, not usually played. And they don't want a Path to Exile. So they already have some removal in their hand, potentially. See if we can get them to use it on Waste Not. Yep, there's Jeskai colors. So we'll play a Swamp so we don't take damage. Test them for counter spells. If they think we're discard, this is a good counter target. There's Dovin's Veto. Three mana. No play. We'll try another Waste Not. Try and draw out more interaction. Opponent is deep in the tank. And they use a Flame to draw it instead. So that's going to resolve. Interesting timing on that one. I guess they were looking for a Force of Negation. Opponent fetches with Vista. Are they going to play something for 4 mana here? Honestly, I would love to see that. Clear the way for Juggle. Voice of Victory is fine. Why did they get a mountain there? I guess they're holding up blue, but the auto tapper tapped the Fortress as opposed to Elegant Parlor. I think we just jam. It's not going to get better against this deck the more cards they draw. If this doesn't resolve, I think we're just going to concede. I value my time on this planet too much to sit through a painful match like this. That works. Unfortunately, we are 1 mana short of being able to cast Ashiok here and get rid of that Flage. 9 cards in graveyard means it'll come back next turn. Brutal. Brutal, brutal, brutal. Because, again, if they had 1 more land in hand, we could have played Karn as well. Doesn't make sense to even play out Snapcaster here. The Cliffs can go. Verge can go. Maybe Pathway. Unfortunate. It's going to be very difficult to come back from here. Our only hope is they don't have 1 more red or white mana. Give us an additional turn. They play out Leyline of the Void. That will mess with the Flage that we have from them. And then a Swamp. Opponent attacks in. Take a block here. Scheming Symmetry. Don't necessarily want to refill their hand. We can play Ashiok out here and Snapcaster, or we can hold Snapcaster. I think it's better for Ashiok. We do want Karn to survive.
I am that which might me. I leave
So we answer Flage, and then if we play out Snapcaster here, we don't have a good follow-up, but then they also won't be able to deal with the Karn. We can just Flage next turn to take out Voice of Victory. I think that's what we'll do, because we can always use Snapcaster to flashback Juggle. Another land. That would have been one of their top decks, either this turn or last. And they like their card. We wouldn't mind a land of our own. Flame, just for the damage mode. Opponent goes after Ashiok. I don't think they have any fetch land. Did they have a fetch land earlier? Maybe 1. Yeah, Vista. Because they're trying to fill their graveyard for the Flage. So here we could either keep Ashiok in play. I think the first thing we'll do here, use the Flage take out that. Then we can consign this trigger. And we will replicate just in case our opponent has drawn into a counter spell. And I think they kept their card on top, so we'll mill them as well. Arena of Glory. And we hit another Flage, so that's at least 3 down. I don't know how many they're playing. They're looking at their haul. I think that's 6 or 7 mana to activate. 6. So they're still 1 mana short. We could wish for Pithing Needle, turn it off. What else would we Pithing Needle? So it's not unreasonable that they might have another Planeswalker. There's a Karn. We can force that. Again, I don't think they have a Karn sideboard. And this is just going to be banking some energy for future discharge. Okay. So we'll play down Karn. We'll go get our Pithing Needle.
I will guide Dominaria's fate.
Name Hall of the Storm Giants. Attack in for 9. Pass the turn. Castle Ardenvale is good too. Although we can still push at least 3 damage with Flage, and with Karn, we can just get our liquid metal coating. That was a mistake by our opponent because all the cards in our deck suck and they just refueled our hand. Wish. We can let that go. Again, I don't think they have a sideboard. And there's the concession. Next turn, we could have either gotten the coating, but since their land was tapped, we probably would have just gotten Shadow Spear, and that would have been 10 damage coming in if our opponent didn't have removal, which our deck doesn't contain. So, good game. Opponent is on a mulligan. I think we'll give this a try on the strength of Leyline of the Void. We also have Karn as a mid-game follow-up. If this is Minion of the Mighty, we don't have any play against it anyway. Stitcher Supplier, and our opponent concedes, so our guess was correct with the Leyline. On to the next. This hand is fine, we'll keep. Leyline of Anticipation means we can try and juggle after their draw step. Put our ley lines in. Play the cliffs. We don't mind Authority. We'll get the starting town down. Set our upkeep stop for next turn. And then we'll get our shrine down. And I'm going to put full control on just to make sure we don't miss it. We'll let them draw, and then we'll juggle. Pass to their main phase here. They can still play out a land. Waste Not, probably the one card we want to see least. Means if they have one of our juggles, it'll be quite effective. And since we can play things at instant speed, we're just going to pass the turn here. I think we should be able to dump out our whole hand almost. Leyline of Sanctity is fine. Green adds the most. So we'll dump out some of our creatures here. And our opponent just concedes here. Good game. This hand looks good. Has a couple copies of Juggle. A few ley lines we can start with. Opponent's looking at Leyline of the Void, so maybe they're a graveyard deck. Now they look at Leyline of Anticipation. Very slow to make their opening move. And they're roping us already. So it looks like they probably are on a reanimation strategy. So it'll be an easy victory for us. See what they discarded there. Founding of the Third Path. Most likely to mill themselves again, not us. Because if they were milling us, then they would have been playing. And we have a Waste Knot. Play that out. If our opponent doesn't concede here, at least we'll be able to see how it works with Juggle. Another discard. So, here we get the Juggle. Opponent has a full hand. Yep, they are on Reanimator. And we did get to generate a bunch of mana here. Unfortunately, we don't have any way to discard this Arden at the moment. 10 cards in hand. Can use one of the Symmetry. Karn is good. Don't need these ley lines. And then this is our graveyard only. Don't think we have any creatures. So we'll just pass the turn. Discard Arden and maybe the Gaze. For some reason, our opponent still hasn't timed out yet, even though it looks like they're getting to the bottom of their clock each turn. And here we'll just get Arden for the fun of it. We can Gaze during our opponent's end step. Oh, they're here. They're here. And they're gone again. We'll Gaze again. We're really just looking for another Juggle at this point. We'll play out Karn. Don't think we have any good creatures here necessarily. We just get the coding. In case our opponent ever decides to play out a land. Pass the turn. This should be the last turn cycle. Take our draw step here, and we'll just attack in. Alright, so there you have the deck. And while I would love to say we went undefeated, there were a couple Minion of the Mighty matches in the middle that I cut out from the video, as we don't have any early interaction for that deck, and it doesn't make for good content. But outside of that, we were actually able to win all of the rest of the games, which is a tremendous shock. When it comes to the new cards that we were testing out, having Waste Knot in play prior to playing Juggle did turn out to be tremendously powerful. However, in the post-Juggle turns, if our opponent had a Waste Knot, then the remainder of the game felt very stressful, since if they were also able to play another Juggle, or if we drew into one, our opponent having that card means that they would gain most of the advantage. But luckily, I think there was only one match where that even came up, and our opponent wasn't really able to punish us in that instance. When it came to the Wish, we did have it in hand a couple times, but due to the mana cost of playing the Wish and then using a sideboard card, it didn't really come in handy. So you might switch that back over to the Leyline of Combustion, or swap it back out for a couple Pact of Negation, or there might be another card that I haven't thought of yet that slots into the deck. Again, a tremendously fun deck to play, and it really tests your knowledge as you need to be familiar with a lot of different decks. As always, I'd like to thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe for more content.